How about now? Can you hear me now? I was not looking at the chat because I was just going on talking about how wonderful it was to be here and so on. Can you hear me now? I'm now watching the chat. There we are. Okay, great. Sigh. These bugaboos will still come and get you. Remember when Mike was here and he was my tech guy and he would run a bunch of the stuff in the background? It was wonderful. We miss you, Mike. Anyway, welcome to Dome at Home. I'm your host, Scott Young, and it is wonderful to have you all here. Sorry, I wasn't in on the chat as I was setting up. As you can tell, I was trying to get some things working here. I am really glad. Wow, this is actually good because I now have twice as many chat comments as we normally get in the show, and that looks good on the metrics. So maybe I should have no audio for every show because it just gets more people commenting. No, okay. Nice to see so many people checking in, and nice to see everybody that I had a chance to see last week or so. I guess it was last Saturday. Yeah, we were at the planetarium. We had our Queen Heaven show, music show running. Those shows sold out, and there were a whole bunch of Dome at Home folks there. It was really nice to see you all, and some of you, it was the first time I could put a face to the name, so it's really nice to meet up, and it's always good. Okay, let me just check here. Everybody's saying hello. Everybody's checking in. Perfect. Okay, we are going to hopefully get ready for Halloween, like I said. So we're going to switch over to our favorite planetarium program, which is Stellarium. And Stellarium lets us see everything in the sky. And right now, if we're looking at the sky sort of in the early evening, the great thing about this time of the year, we get dark early. I know most people hate that. Astronomers love it because you can observe for hours and hours and still make it home in time for supper because it gets dark so much earlier, especially the farther north you go. Facing towards the north, the Big Dipper is sort of at its lowest ebb for the season in the evening. It's ducking down below the houses, below the tree line and things like that if you don't have a clear horizon, but still visible there. And being able to swing over to the towards the west a little bit, the handle of the Big Dipper, the arc of the handle, arcs down to the bright star Arcturus, which is very low on the horizon right now. You can catch it just before things are getting dark. It's one of the first stars that'll pop out. That has been the key for most people finding Comet Lemon, which we've looked at the last little while, and you'll see some images in a minute. As we go farther around, we go towards the west, and there's some obscure constellations. We've talked about Corona Borealis before, the little smiley face, but down in the west, there's all these weird faint constellations. This is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, and then there are two serpent constellations. There's Serpens Caput, which is the head of the serpent, and then Serpens Cauda, which is the tail of the serpent, so he's sort of holding on to it, and the snake is going out both ways. Comet Lemon is right in there, and we'll take a look at that briefly or in a moment. Farther around towards the south, we see that Milky Way and Sagittarius still above the horizon, but up, if we zoom out a little bit, we see Aquila, the bright star Altair at the point of the summer triangle. If I zoom way out, you can still see the summer triangle. Yeah, I know it's almost November, but yeah, we can see the summer triangle for the next couple of months. You basically only lose the summer triangle for a couple of months of the year. So it's really poorly named, but it is still very well visible now. Tonight we've got a moon, just about first quarter, and that's sort of right in the middle of all of these other faint constellations. Capricorn, the goat, and Aquarius, the water carrier over here, and Pisces, the fish, over to the south. The bright object way off to the left of the moon tonight is Saturn, and that's something that's fairly easy to spot. We'll talk a bit more about Saturn later on. And as we loop around here, back to the east, we're starting to see the fall constellations come into their own. The Great Square of Pegasus, sort of more like a diamond than a... Oh, and look, we have a satellite going by. Isn't that interesting? That's set for a little bit later in the evening, but that's okay. And then here we have the Andromeda Galaxy, M31, in the constellation of Andromeda. this chart is available on our website at manitobamuseum.ca. And if you come all the way around here, we come up to Cassiopeia here. Cassiopeia, the queen, sort of comes into her own at this time of the year. She's rising up high and spends some time pretty much straight overhead. So this is a really great time to take a look at Cassiopeia. And in fact, that is one of the things that we are going to do, because Cassiopeia just happens to be the source of our binocular challenge. Many of you will know Ulrike, who has been with us observing for quite a while and sending in her binocular drawings, and her binocular challenge is back. And I'm just going to see if we can get the zoom up here and running. And where did she go? Oh, there we are. And we have to switch to another situation here. Okay, Ulrike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Scott. How about the other way?
That's a great question. Can everyone hear Ulrike?
I
Please
just
say
keep
yes.
talking just to make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. There's a delay in the chat here, it seems. It takes about 5 or 10 seconds for things to come back. Can everyone hear Ulrike?
Okay, here's another test. Can everyone hear?
I think we're okay. Okay.
Good.
Good, good. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to your slide here, or your slides. And excellent. I'm glad that things are mostly working. So let's switch over to Cassiopeia. There it is.
Yes. Are you going to do a dot to dot, or do we start right away into it?
Oh yeah, no, you can start right into it.
You know, I have sort of recently fallen in love with Cassiopeia, and I think at least I have so far underrated it, taken it a little bit too much for granted. And I just have very recently become aware of that there are a lot of things to see there. And so I thought we use one of those things for our binocular challenge, and it's Messy Object 103. And we always describe Cassiopeia as an M. With the one side, I liked your wording, it's a little bit squashed as though someone has been sitting on it. It's a little bit more difficult to see when it's flipped sideways, but if we all twist our heads a little bit to the side, it's still there. And we are going to start at this middle star of the squashed side. No, like the middle star of the squashed side.
Is that not the middle one? That's this one here?
Yeah, this one.
Okay. Yeah, that's
and so that's sort of the middle star of the overall M. I just wanted the middle star of the squashed side. The one someone has been sitting on to squash it.
Yeah.
And
is that the one where
yeah. Oh, it's much bigger than I thought.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, I zoomed right in.
Okay, very good. So we are definitely on the same page here. So, and we are going to start at this middle star, and we are going outwards. So that would be sort of 45-degree angle down to the left to the other star. That's the route we are going to take. And so let's start from the star, go towards the outer star, about 1/5 of the way.
So there.
Yes, and here we stop, and now we are going at a 90-degree angle, so perpendicular, but like to the right side, and so sort of downhill a little bit at an angle. So going down there at a 90-degree angle, and about half the distance that of our first little journey there.
Yeah, so it makes a nice little right triangle. Basically, you've got the star you started at. You go out to a point here, and then you go down, and there's a little fuzzy thing showing up there on the map.
Exactly, and it's a little fuzzy, and it's rather narrow and a little bit elongated. And what I first saw actually was not so much the fuzzy spot, but 3 stars that clearly made a little straight line.
Okay.
And I first thought, oh, that's 3 stars really close together. And then I looked closer, and then I saw the fuzziness around it.
Okay. So yeah, here's the zoom in, and you can see those 3 stars right across the middle there.
And right, and that's so that's the characteristic for M103, that you can see the 3 stars in a line.
And just for reference, this star is the bottom squished part of the middle of the squished part of the W. And so if you just point your binoculars right at that star, M103 is in your field of view. You just have to figure out where it is. These are
Yeah,
the 7x50s, so that gives you sort of a smaller view. The bigger binoculars that you use makes it a little bit more obvious when you have the 15x70s or things like that.
there's also a little cross-reference when we go to the back to our starting point and
Hmm.
go just a little bit below. There are I don't know if you can see it in 7x50s. If you have good eyes, you probably can. So
Hmm.
there is sort of three stars that make a triangle
Yep.
that's pointing to the left.
Yeah, and it
And
points right.
that forms an arrowhead and it really points directly at M103. I always like cross references to make sure I'm really at the place where I want to be and where I think I am.
Yeah. I threw in a telescope view. This is actually, all of these images are from Stellarium, just the various settings sort of zoomed in and things like that. And it really is a beautiful little cluster. You've got some bright stars there and then a sprinkling of faint ones all around it. A very, very beautiful object, and one that's perfectly placed for this time of the year. So just for
And you can,
reference, there's
and
our,
you
is that the right one? There we go. So there's our Cassiopeia, and there is where M103 is. So just off from that star. Nice.
right. And as you said, it's very beautiful, which gets me back to the beginning. I have really developed a new respect for Cassiopeia and the beautiful things that can be seen there.
Yep, there's
Bin
lots of neat stuff
binocular
in there.
and lots of binocular stuff.
Exactly, that's true. It's a great time for binoculars with the clusters of Cassiopeia, and the Andromeda Galaxy is up that we've talked about before, and coming up soon are the everything from the Pleiades to the Orion Nebula. There's a whole bunch of things coming up. So with so many things coming up, do you think we'll be doing more binocular challenges in the near future?
Um, I will try my best. How does that sound?
Excellent. That sounds great. I know you're a very popular feature of the show, so we love having you. Thanks very much,
Thank you.
Ulrike, for joining us. And I will put these images up onto the website as well. If people want to have the star charts, I'll make them black and white so you can print them out, and that way you can take it out with you to take a look at the star chart. Thanks very much,
Awesome.
Ulrike. And now you can go back to watch the show.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. And if you want to do some stuff on the show, drop me a line. I would love to have you on the show. It's nice to, now that we've got all the tech figured out, it's nice to have other people on and talk about their kinds of things. You can reach us the usual ways through the Facebook and YouTube, and email to me is space@manitobamuseum.ca, and that will get you direct to my desk, and I'd be happy to see what we can talk about. Now, another way that you can contribute, of course, is by sharing all your images. And so we're going to get to a whole bunch of your images because a lot of them came in. But before we do that, I just want to be able to make one brief announcement. As I mentioned, I saw a bunch of you at the Queen show last weekend. The two other upcoming shows, we have shows at 7 and 8:30 on November the 8th and November the 15th. Those are all sold out. So we decided that we would add a 5:30 show on both of those nights. I know it's a little early, but it's actually surprising. The early shows sell out soon. I think people of a certain age, perhaps, that might be interested in Queen don't want to stay up all that late. Or you want to go out observing. No judgment, but anyway, there are shows added, and those tickets are available now. So if you want to support the planetarium and support Dome at Home, one way to do that is to buy tickets to the other activities that we have. And so if you're into that, come and join us at the Queen Show. I'll be running those shows, so you'll get a chance to say hi, and again, we can put a name to a face. All right, as we get ready to take a look at some of your images, one of the things that I like to do is to highlight all the images that people send in. I also, we see a lot of images online, and part of me would love to just feature, some of the amazing images that come in. We have a a number of people here in Winnipeg and Manitoba that are, world-class photographers. And we've got people that watch the show from across the way. So that is also something that we would like to be able to do. However, I wanted to focus this time on people that just sent me their pictures, and almost all of them were of Comet Lemon. So let's start off with Comet Lemon. Sherry DeCock sent me a phone picture they took, and I think this was the kind of, this really encapsulates what the comet was like. We see a lot of these pictures online that are, usually taken with a telescope and taken with sophisticated techniques, and they show these long, beautiful tails and what a comet's supposed to look like. And then you get a picture like this that actually captures what it's like to stand there and see it. And you might not see it jump out right away, so we'll give you some reference points here. Let's see. There's Boötes with Arcturus at the bottom. There's the little happy face of Corona Borealis. And there's the X of, this is the head of Serpens that we pointed out briefly. And so these stars along here are all part of Ophiuchus. But I'm going to highlight these in all the comet shots because for most of them, we only had clear weather here for about 2 nights of the whole 3-week or so apparition of this comet. And so almost all the local pictures come from the same nights. And the comet was like basically right in there. In fact, you can see it right there. Oh, sorry. You can see it right there. And you can see a little bit of the tail. If we zoom in a little bit though, you can see you've got this little fuzzy spot here, and then there's a tail going off, pointing away from the sun. Beautiful object. Not what a lot of people expected. It's sort of underwhelming if you are used to just seeing all the pictures online. But this is a visitor from the outer solar system that is, has never been seen before. And you can see it with just your unaided eyes with just a little bit of effort. And you can see it with your more easily with any kind of digital camera. This is a phone camera, nothing too sophisticated, but Sherry went out, went to the right spot, took a picture of the right area of the sky, and got a great shot of the comet. Let's see, Andy and Ruby were out as well. Andy sent me a great email where he basically said, finally we got a couple of clear nights where there was no moon and it wasn't raining and things like that. And Andy sent in some images before. Here he's got a great couple of shots of the comet on the 23rd, and then there's again some on the 24th. Again, for reference, there's sort of our view there. There's Arcturus at the bottom, the ice cream cone of Boötes, Corona Borealis, and the X of Serpens. And there's the comet there. This is basically the same night as Sherry's image. And this is with a digital SLR camera and a lens on a tripod, so it has a little bit more advantage in terms of light gathering capabilities, so the tail's a little bit more obvious. Here's the next night, and what's kind of cool is here's part of Boötes, and again, the same reference points. The comet was over here last night, and it's over here tonight. Like, it really moves, and in fact, in a lot of the images, people will take pictures over the course of half an hour and you will see it moving relative to the stars because this thing is rocketing around the sun in its highly elliptical orbit. Nice little picture. And actually the comet's tail stretches, you probably can't see it on the stream, but it stretches all the way out up to Corona Borealis. I did some sort of contrast playing around with the image, and this is a really great shot, Andy. Thanks for sending it in. So there's sort of a little zoom there, and as you can see, it's all the way, very, very faintly sticking all the way up there. And that's that beautiful ion tail that we see. It looks kind of like a line of smoke. And then this sort of broader tail, that's the dust tail that is being left behind as the comet, as it spews out dust as it orbits the sun. Here's moving on to Gia Walker, also using a digital SLR. And Gia loves to shoot sunsets and, things around the sunset. So she shot a little bit earlier here. Arcturus is up nice and high, and you can see it there. This was actually the night before. Where did you go, Gia, to get clear skies? Because I did not have clear skies at sunset on that day. So you'll have to let me know. I forgot to check that. There's the comet right there. And if we zoom in a little bit again, you've got a nice little tail here. What's also interesting is that there's a little streak of light here, and if I bumped the contrast up in this image, there's actually, in the original image, about 15 little trails of light, which are satellites there are so many satellites up there now that it's very difficult to get a nice shot of the stars without having a satellite get right in the way. You have to be a little bit crafty to get a good view. All right. I think this is from Krish. Krish, one of our Houston, Texas viewers. It looks like he was in Boston because that's where the picture came from. And with the little smart telescope, the Dwarf 2, beautiful shot of the comet, sort of a zoom in on just the head. You can see the ion tail here sticking out, and then there's a bunch of the dust and so on. A nice view of the comet for sure. Thanks very much, Krish, for sending that in. I love those little smart scopes. I've seen a bunch of great smart scope images. Unfortunately, I didn't get permission to show my friend Ralph his image. I think it's just a beautiful comet image, but I didn't hear back from him in time to get it on the show. Hopefully we'll get it on for next time. It's amazing what these little smart telescopes will do. If you are just starting out in astrophotography or astronomy and you want to spend, between $500 and $1,000 on equipment, one of these little things will basically give you a machine that can do all sorts of astrophotography. Now it does things automatically. It doesn't do things maybe as precision as specialized gear would be, but there's also a way easier learning curve. So a lot of people are moving to these smart telescopes, and they are, well, if you're on social media, you're seeing their images all over the place. You want to go see the comet tonight? Well, if you're here, it's cloudy, so you can't. But if you're elsewhere in Treaty 1 territory, or you're somewhere where the sky happens to be clear, well, here's the same reference points. We got Boötes and Corona Borealis and the X of Serpens. And then here's Ophiuchus. I always thought it looked like the mouth of a cave, sort of this big, tall portal of stars. And the comet is moving in there over the course of the next week or so. Now, here's the thing. The comet is past its prime, and so it's slowly starting to fade. It's getting a little farther away. Its tail is getting maybe a little bit less interesting. The other thing that's happening, though, is this part of the sky each night is slipping lower and lower into the west. As the seasons change, the stars slip slowly westward. So if you go out at 7:15 on the tonight, Arcturus will be here. But if you go out at 7:15, 10 nights from now, Arcturus will actually be down lower, and this whole thing will slip down closer to the horizon. So you've really only got the next week or so, I think, to get a decent view. Now we have one benefit, of course, of the change there, that the time change happens. And, it's getting darker earlier and earlier. So it'll be interesting to see when the images start to peter out online, when people just find that it's too low to get images. But I know that it is a great thing to draw people out and get them out of the city and get a look in relatively dark skies. We've got some questions here. Gia, you were in Headingley. Oh, nice. Okay. Off Roblin. The RCMP stopped to see what I was doing. That's nice. I've sometimes been, by myself in the dark late at night and been, visited by law enforcement, just making sure that everything was on the up and up. Usually they're pretty keen to see through the telescope or whatever. But yeah, Melissa says, is it popular, the Dwarf 3 telescope? Yeah, so Krish has the Dwarf 2. The new version, the Dwarf 3, is newer, and it's got some interesting improvements. I don't think it's a big quantum leap, but they're about to release the Dwarf Mini, which is actually a smaller telescope. The whole thing is about the size of, a little bit bigger than your phone, about the size of a big power pack for your phone, like an extra battery. So you can carry it around in your pocket, plunk it down on a table or something like that, and it will shoot images. So that's coming out. It's supposed to be released coming up in the next little while. And yes, the comet can be seen in BC. You don't worry about the time zones on this image. Just go out at 7:15 your own local time. The problem is you're going to want to look west, and from where you are, there's a bunch of mountains in the way. So that might be a little bit of an issue for you. You got to get to a place where you can see at after sunset, you can see the stars pretty much down to the horizon to get a decent view. If you look at the scale here, that's about 10 degrees is the width of your fist held out at arm's length. And so, you know, it's not too much higher than that. Okay. Here's the view without all those charts. Can you see the comet? Yeah, it's right in there. It doesn't look all that different from a star to the unaided eye. You really need to be able to zoom in on it to get a view, and that's why binoculars are so great. They just give you that extra aperture for your eyes, collect some more light. It's a really nice object. So, and this is Stellarium again, but this is not too different from what I saw with my binoculars from my backyard. You see sort of a fuzzy ball with a bright star in the middle, and then there is a little bit of a tail sticking up from it. Like in fairly light polluted skies, I was able to see that it looks kind of like a comet. I mean, it's not the same as Chuchinshan Atlas last year, or Comet Neowise a couple of years back. Those were spectacular comets. This one is still a solid 6 out of 10 though. So now we have a couple more images because there was another comet out, and Andy managed to bag this one. Comet Swan was actually at its best before we could see it here in North America, and so it was great online, and then now it's kind of, well, do you see it? It's right there. See that slightly larger than star-like blob? It's kind of green colored. Here, if we zoom in, there it is. That's Comet Swan. I applaud your efforts to capture it there, Andy, and you know, you bagged 2 comets in one night. That's a rare kind of thing. But yeah, that one is not one that most people are going to be able to see. It's quite a bit fainter, has very little tail that's visible. It's really gone into the realm of photography only now. But there are more comets to come. How do I know that? I got my Observer's Handbook for 2026. The RASC, Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, puts that sort of what's coming up for the year, and we'll be going through that in the December show where we take a look at next year and all the celestial events. But there's a whole bunch of comets that are coming to their brightest point in 2026, and of course there's always a chance that they'll discover a new one that'll just come out of nowhere that we'll get to see. All right, I think we have, let's see, we have another image here, my non-comet image for the week. This is Orion. Tracy Knowles took a great shot with her phone. This is an early morning shot. I know Tracy gets up early for work, and Orion is already up nice and high. If you're getting up at 5 in the morning, the hourglass shape, really, really well defined, all nice bright stars. The sword of Orion here hanging from his belt. That middle thing there is the Orion Nebula. And if I take a look at the whole picture, there's actually a whole bunch of constellations in the shot here. There's Orion in the middle. You got Taurus the bull up on the right, Gemini the twins over there on the left, and actually just in frame here, there's the planet Jupiter. Jupiter's over in Gemini right now and is well placed if you're getting up early in the morning. We've got Canis Major down in the lower right here with the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. Although Jupiter is brighter, it's technically not a star, but Sirius is almost as bright. And then down here, one of my favorite constellations, this is Lepus the Hare. Imagine this is like the face and the ears and maybe the neck of a big bunny with floppy ears. And I guess Orion the Hunter is hunting him, I guess. But anyway, a little constellation that you only really see when Orion's nice and high because he's way down below him. Thanks, Tracy, for sending that in, and thanks for giving us a non-comet image. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your images. We really love to see what you're doing in astronomy out there and what you're able to see. And it doesn't have to be pictures. It can be stories. It can be sketches of what you've seen, anything like that. Just however you experience the sky. It's great to be able to record it in some way so that you have something to look back on. And as you saw, even just a cell phone camera can do some amazing work. Sherry, the book online, yes, you can order this from rasc.ca. That is the main, I guess, the mothership. And let's see here. Why is it not letting me chat? There we go. There's the link. and you can definitely pick that up. It's got a lot of reference stuff in it, but the part that I use the most is the sky month by month. There's also charts in here that help you track down the outer planets. Uranus and Neptune are both visible in binoculars if you know just where to look. And it turns out that I wrote the copy and made the charts for those in this book, as well as some asteroids and minor planets and dwarf planets. So you can check out everything from Ceres to Pluto to the asteroid feature of the year in the book. It's always a treat getting that because you can look ahead and see, oh, what's coming up? Oh, we'll have a partial eclipse. We'll have a full lunar eclipse next year. We've got some comets. We've got some all sorts of things going on. All right. We have a really, really full show, and I have to make sure that I can go pick up my kid after the midterm that they're writing right now. So it's time for
Cool space stuff!
Well, some interesting NASA news, I guess. So, as you've heard, NASA is going back to the moon, and Canadians are going along. Canadian Jeremy Hansen is ready for his ride on Artemis 2, which we'll talk about in a second. But just this week, the NASA acting administrator, they don't actually have anyone in charge of NASA officially. They're just somebody filling the role. This is Sean Duffy, who's the Secretary of Transportation. He knows nothing about space, but he was concerned that SpaceX and Starship were falling behind, and he has decided to reopen that contract. Now, frankly, this guy's opinion really means nothing except he's in power, but him saying that doesn't really mean anything to me. Like I imagine that many people smarter than him have told him that that's what he should say. But he's not the only person saying it. I mean, there have been a number of issues with Starship, the idea of using this massive rocket to land on the moon. Well, just this week at the American Astronautical Society, the last two administrators of NASA got together for a little, presentation, and they basically both said that NASA needs to rethink their plan of using Starship to go to the moon. Partly because Starship has not been progressing on the human landing system. Partly because there's a growing concern that maybe this is really the wrong tool for the job. Imagine, you decide you need a car. It's you, your spouse, and a couple of kids, and a dog. You got to fit them all in the car, and you got to drive to places. You drive to school, you drive to work, and stuff like that. And so you decide, I need a car. And you go to a store and you say, this is what I need. I need a car. And so they take your money, but rather than giving you a car that does that job, they use that money as a down payment on a 747. Because a 747 is way better than a car. It's way faster. It can carry way more stuff and can do all these things. But you can't put it in your driveway, and you can't drive your kids to school with it, and you can't even drive it. Like it's overkill for the job. That's kind of what using Starship for landing on the moon is like, because Starship was never designed to land on the moon. Starship is designed, as per Elon Musk, to take 1 million people to Mars and make a Mars colony. It's like a giant ark ship. Using it to land on the moon is just silly. But that's where the funding was. And so SpaceX took almost $3 billion from NASA and said, yeah, we can make it work. Well, they haven't made it work. And so now it looks like we might not see Starship being the landing system for Artemis 3. The next mission after Jeremy Hansen's is going to land on the moon, and it was supposed to be with Starship. It turns out that they would actually need 11 Starship launches all within about a week to be able to send one crew to land on the moon. And that's because it's just way too big. And they haven't even got the thing into orbit yet. It's just way far behind for what needs to happen. Now, I think there's some pressure from the idea that, well, China is going to the moon. And even though the Americans have already been there once, they don't want to be beat by China. So there's a bunch of political things. And of course, there's a bunch of egos involved and a bunch of personality issues, shall we say, with some of the key players. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm really glad Jeremy Hansen is on Artemis 2, which does not land on the moon. It goes around the moon. It doesn't have a lander on the mission. There's nothing that will delay his flight. However, Canada does have a second flight, and we were holding out hope that maybe his backup, Jenny Sidey, might fly to the moon and might, in fact, put her boots on the moon at some point. So this is still of interest to Canadians. We'll have to see how it all plays out. Interestingly, Blue Origin, the people who are supposed to land on the moon for Artemis 5, just stacked their first lunar lander for the big vacuum test, and then they're ready to launch it. Now, this is not a crewed lander, like a human lander. It is a cargo lander, but it's just interesting that the people that are supposed to land on mission number 5 are way ahead in terms of actually landing on the moon than the folks who are supposed to do it on mission 3. We'll see what this, this free market competition brings to the story. Artemis 2, the Orion spacecraft named Integrity, has arrived in Florida. It's underneath this sort of conical housing. This is the abort rocket on top that will pull it away in case of a problem. And this goes on top of the big orange rocket with the big white side boosters. That is now scheduled to launch no earlier than February 5th, 2026. We were thinking it was like April or May. Potentially early February. Just a few months away, Jeremy Hansen could be going around the moon. This is happening. This is getting real. We got some questions here. Let's see. I'll come back to those other ones here. Sounds a lot like the space shuttle designs. Says, oh, Kevin, nice to see you. I assume Kim is there with you. Yeah, the space shuttle was designed to do one thing, and then that thing didn't happen. So it was, how can we use it for something else? Because all this work's gone into it. Sometimes it's hard to let go of a good idea. And let's see. What's the size of that Blue Origin moon lander? It is, a person is about this tall if they were standing next to it. So it's much smaller than Starship. And granted, this is designed to bring like robotic rovers and also supplies and things like that. The human one is got another module that like this size stacked on top of it, but still quite a bit smaller than Starship. Oh, hi Kim. And Krish, yeah, I'm glad you got in to see your image. Excellent. I cannot believe I stood outside these doors when I was in Florida for the Psyche launch a couple of years ago, and now Jeremy Hansen in the orange pumpkin suit and his colleagues are walking out it as for rehearsals. This is going to get really exciting really fast, I hope. There's a bunch of other things going on. I couldn't cover nearly all of it because there's just so much happening in space right now. If you look at all the James Webb images, and Hubble is still churning out stuff. And we've got rovers, and we've got spacecraft on the way to Jupiter, and we've got spacecraft on the way to asteroids, and all of these things going. It's crazy. So I had to limit myself a little bit. So this one is mostly about human spaceflight. Next month, we'll check in on all the robotic missions that are up and coming. There are 2 space stations around the Earth. There's the International Space Station, which we're all familiar with, I assume, and that's got a whole bunch of countries involved, including Canada. And China has their own station, Tiangong, and they launched their 10th crew to it tomorrow at about 10 in the morning. And they don't talk too much about what's going on there, but it's a full service space station. They've had permanent crews for quite a while, and they're building a space telescope that will be able to dock to their space station in case they need to fix it. Like, we had the space shuttle go up and fix the Hubble Space Telescope a few times and add new instruments and things like that. This one will just pop over to the space station and the astronauts there will be able to do it, which is kind of a good use for a space station. I wish they were a little more open with the stuff that was going on. If they had like the equivalent of NASA TV and we could see all the cool things going on, but it's very, very limited as to what's coming out. So we'll be interested to see what happens there. Oh, and here we have an image that didn't show up. You've probably heard about the interstellar comet Atlas. Atlas is the name of the robotic telescope that discovered it, and it discovers lots of things. So there are lots of comet atlases, but there's only one that is called 3I. 3I means the third interstellar object ever found. It's passing around behind the sun right now. We can't see it from Earth. Our satellites are still watching it. It brightened, which is interesting. Often when something gets closest to the sun, you get a brightening effect. There's also a lot of solar activity. There was a big flare that blew off a whole bunch of radiation, not towards the Earth, but off in the direction of the comet, and that could have vaporized some of the icy surface and exposed more volatiles that it starts spewing out, and that would make the comet appear brighter. In a month or so, we'll be able to see it again from Earth. And if it stays brighter, we might be able to glimpse it in telescopes or maybe even binoculars. I doubt it, but it'll be worth a live stream for sure, because we don't get to see interstellar objects. Everything else we've seen comes from our solar system. It's in our solar system permanently. This thing came in from way far away, and it's moving way too fast to be in orbit around the sun, even a gigantic orbit. It has come from beyond. And so, of course, there's all sorts of hype and ridiculous stories on online about it. But it'll be interesting to catch up to. I had a picture, and it was just a picture of a little fuzzy ball with some stars in the background, because that's what it looks like. All right, let me see here. Make sure that we have. Oh, we have one more thing that came in just before we went live here. NASA does a bunch of cool programs, and one of the things they do are computing competitions, essentially. And the International Space Apps Challenge just occurred, and there were a team of Winnipeg students from the University of Manitoba who came in third of all the folks in the world. Two of them are members of the Winnipeg Center of the RASC, and there's the crew with their third place certificates. It was great to see them do a great job. They basically put together a program that used machine learning to try to identify exoplanets from survey data from a space telescope. And so basically something that would just automatically look at everything and figure out if there were extra exoplanets going around those stars. So that's pretty cool. They came in third. I'll love to see what they discover with that tool as they put it all together. All right. Let me just see here in terms of the last little things. We have a number of things going on coming up. We've got a couple of meteor showers that peak in November. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you have any astronomy in your social media at all, you will get alerts up the wazoo. You will get alerts about a meteor shower is peaking tonight and it'll be wonderful. And then if you go to the catalog of the International Meteor Organization and you look up that shower and it says, yeah, this shower produces 1 meteor per hour. That's not a meteor shower. I mean, scientifically it is, it's important, but from a public observing point of view, not even bother to mention it. I mean, these are things we've never talked about, except now, because space sells, somebody has gone and taken all the stuff from the almanac and everything in the observer's handbook and everything on every calendar that exists and put it out like it's the second coming and made it into a big deal. So there's a lot of overhype there. If you want to see which meteor showers are worth viewing and which ones you can maybe sleep in for, my blog goes live tomorrow on the Manitoba Museum. I do a monthly blog on the sky this month. That'll tell you where the planets are, the meteor showers, various other events and things like that. So that's something you can watch for. We always love to hear from you, whether it's you sending in images or you sending in, we got some more questions here. You sending in images, you sending in stories, you just saying hi. We love to hear that you watch the show from wherever, or we sometimes we'll get a note saying, oh yeah, I watched the show with my son who lives all the way across the country, but we watch it at the same time and it's a nice thing to do. So we love stories like that. My boss loves stories like that. And so that means I love stories like that because that's what helps to keep us employed. We have a couple of questions we're going to do here. We've got, the term beaver moon. Every moon has a name in indigenous calendars. And generally, because the moon is what we use to keep track of time, there would be the winter moon, and there would be the harvest moon. We're familiar with the harvest moon, the hunter's moon. And each group would have names based on their own climate and their own sort of calendar system and things like that. So the beaver moon is one of the names of the full moons that one or another indigenous groups would use to keep track of time. They vary across the different groups and around the world, of course. The Farmer's Almanac decided one day to take whatever was used locally and then print that as if it was gospel truth around the world. And so those have become very popular, but they kind of miss the point. There are things that are like the spring moon. Well, spring in Winnipeg is different than spring in Vancouver or spring in Arizona, right? But anyway, a lot of those names really should be very regional, very localized. So you can talk to folks in whatever treaty territory you're in, or to local indigenous groups, and they'd probably be happy to share what the local calendar is. So that's where those moons come from. All right, we are out of time, unfortunately, but you can always send us images and things like that. I have to put up the links here. There's our links. space@manitobamuseum.ca is the best way to get a hold of me. And of course, we'd like to thank everybody who contributed images and everybody that has contributed to the show. Sebastian and Genevieve, who came up with our opening theme. And Tiffany, I still need to talk to you about music. We need music for Ulrike's segment so that she'll come and do it more often. So let's talk about that. And we will see you all next month. I hope you get a chance to get out and watch what's up in the sky. December, we'll have the Geminid meteor shower, and I do plan a live star party for that. If people want to get together the 13th and 14th of December, we can set up another star party and go observing. Thanks, everybody. We will see you again soon, and oh, Stan, nice to see you. Yeah, I didn't know you watched the show. Wow, that's kind of cool. All right, it is great to see you all, and we will see you again next month here on Dome at Home. Good night, everybody.